hanging by a thread. On this day 93 years ago, my father was born in rural Michigan. In 1929, rural meant that the road from Reese to my grandparents' house was dirt, and the beauty of nature was unspoiled by ugly telephone poles until my grandparents paid to have 240 of the creosote-soaked glass-insulated towers of Babel line the 24 kilometers from town to their home. Dad had 5 brothers and 2 sisters, though he never met Anton, as my eldest kennel uncle died at 5 years of age of diphtheria 7 years before Dad was born. That left Dad with 4 brothers running around up at 44 degrees north and 84 degrees west with lots of farm work to do and high expectations of bettering themselves, serving their country, and honoring God with their actions. Dad was 6 months old when the stock market crashed, and that crash soon brought the shadow of the Great Depression over the earth. With money mighty scarce, nearly all the 1930s and early 40s boys and girls grew up with few trinkets and toys, and the kennels learned the value of hard work and stretching the dollar all the way to Saginaw and back. Farm living provided my grands with plenty to eat, but meat was scarce, and my father, like his brothers and sisters before him, and his 2 younger brothers who followed, learned to shoot and to hunt. In my father's time and place, guns were plentiful, but for him and his guns were a tool to provide sustenance, not false idols to be worshipped. Dad kept a shotgun in a soft-sided case in his closet, and as a child, I knew it was there, and I knew I wasn't allowed to touch it. I did, of course. Touch it, that is, but just barely, just the case, and then I'd scurry away. I didn't scurry away because single-digit age me feared the shotgun. I scurried away because I feared my father, Frank. It was hard to like him when he was angry. As I grew older, I began to listen to the tales Dad told of his past. Tales like the story of one day when he went out hunting in the wooded areas around Reese, a day when he woke up flat on the ground a bit later than what he thought it was and with no idea to the how or why he was where he was. Turns out another hunter had fired a shot at a deer, and as the bullet neared but did not graze Dad's head, the shockwaves from the revolving projectile concussed Dad and he passed out. Then there were the tales of all 4 of Dad's brothers' stints in service. His brothers Dan and Bill during World War II, Dad and John during Korea, and youngest brother Albert during Vietnam. Bill didn't make it home, but everyone else did, and while Dad nearly died in service, his near-death injury was not combat-related. Hanging by a thread in hospital with his internal organs on the outside, Dad promised his God that if he lived, Dad would dedicate himself to saving lives, and Dad kept that promise. I never hunted with my father, but my brothers did. I never shot a gun, but my boys have. Both my sisters carry guns, and both of my boys were in a scouting venture crew as well as a shooting club under the leadership of Dave Blankenship, an avid hunter and marksman. Dave also possesses excellent leadership qualities and epitomizes the value of bettering self, serving country as well as the world at all, and honoring God with his actions. I think of all this as the USA continues its downward spiral away from respect for life and throws more bodies on the pyre of burnt offerings as we worship the false god of guns, guns, guns. I think of it as I remember my uncle who ended his life by shooting a bullet through his brain. There is no going back. There is no golden age to which we can return. There is no silver bullet of country, duty, honor, because there never was. It is far too easy to demonstrate that what many of us in the U.S. take for granted as rights are denied those who aren't white, who weren't born here, who worship a slightly or very different God than the majority or no God at all, or who dare love someone of the same sex or different color than themselves. In my country, what should be rights for all has always been privileges for the few. Being white, Christian, property, and male were absolute prerequisites to voting when the USA was founded, and expanding that limited, selfish, self-serving, self-righteous base to include every citizen in the U.S. is pushing our mass murders at the hands of white Christian males who insist that rights for all must be denied and who ache to ensure their proper place through mass murder. Guns most certainly are the problem because humans take the easiest path to achieve our goals, and allowing weapons of mass destructive capability is aberrant and evil, as these allow for mass murder to be done efficiently. We have never been a nation of liberty and justice for all, never been, But perhaps it could be. I know my father would want that ideal, and I know that ideal is worth working for. I'm also confident that Dad would be in favor of lots of restrictions on who can own what guns and where and when they can be toted. I certainly hope we wake up and realize that guns are being used as tools of oppression, and that we take the tools designed specifically to make that oppressors easier and eliminate them from my land. Changing people's hearts is difficult, but we can at least make mass murder and mayhem hard to commit.